Transfers play a critical role for any team's success in this day and age. But which one has been the most impactful for Carolina in recent history?
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, it's Tuesday, July 9th, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, and you're joining us at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. Thanks for making this your first listen or watch. It means so much to us that you come hang out every single day. Special shout out to all you everydayers out there and all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord community. Welcome in. So glad you're here. This episode's brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Coming up on the show today, we're going to rank some recent transfers, take a look at the first of the three major computer-generated rankings that college basketball adheres to. It came out, so we're going to look at that. Some more NBA Summer League action, and talk about the schedule for Friday's ACC Network takeover. A lot of fun today, but it is Tuesday, and that means I got for you our Tuesday trivia question. 5 times in ACC history, a Tar Heel has led the conference in three-point percentage. Who were they? And bonus, what were the years in which they did it? And a hint, the answers, or at least a couple of them, are germane to today's show. So be thinking about that. Answer coming up at the very end of the show. Let's get right into this thing. So, a pretty neat exercise at Zone UNC on Twitter posted a picture of 4 recent Tar Heel transfers and said, just simply rank these recent Carolina transfers. Several folks have weighed in. I thought it was a fun exercise, and I wanted to weigh in too, right? I like it when we all come together as a Carolina community to test out these things. And so those 4 players were, I'll give them to you alphabetically by last name: Harrison Ingram from last season, Cam Johnson, who played 2 years, 17-18 and 18-19, Brady Manek, 21 and 22, and Pete Nance in the 22-23 season. So obviously one of those, Cam, is from the Roy Williams era. The other 3 are from the first 3 years of the Hubert Davis era. And so I thought about hey, I could make it a little more my own and add some other transfers. I thought about really boning up on this thing and making it scientific. But then I was like, Shade, well, you don't need to overcomplicate this thing. So I'm just sticking to those 4. I want to keep the parameters of UNC Zone's initial question. And then I also wanted to keep it pretty organic. I've been thinking about it throughout the day. I'm recording late on Monday evening, but I'm going to keep my responses pretty organic. I think I've got my ranking put together in my head, but I'll look up stats in real time. I haven't all put that all together. So here we go. I think it makes most sense to start at 4 and work my way. Actually, I'm going to do 1 and 4 and then 3 and 2 because I feel like the bookends are pretty obvious. Are you with me on that? I think so. So we're going to start at the end. Number 4, unfortunately, of this group, and this is probably your number 4, is Pete Nance. And it's twofold. I believe when I look at the stats here in just a second, he will have probably the lowest points per game of these 4. Unfortunately, we know that that team had the least team success of any of these groups. And so that's unfortunate. And I always try to say this when talking about Pete Nance. I truly believe that his back injury was a bigger deal than either he or the team led on. And I think it hurt both he and the team more than anyone led on. I think if Pete Nance plays a healthy 22-23 season, I'm not saying that Carolina is infinitely better, but if they even won, remember how close to the cut line they were? So let's say they even win 2 or 3 more basketball games. They're probably in the NCAA tournament. And I got to be honest, I think Pete Nance's health, and frankly, Armando's, would have allowed that to happen. So let's just use that as a caveat. I still think he would have been the lowest on this list, but it's fair. So let's look up Pete's data from that year. 10 points a game, 6 boards, 1.7 assists, 1.1 blocks. 32% from the three, from beyond the arc, 3.3 attempts per game. I believe that's going to be the lowest 3-point percentage of these 4 guys as well. Did shoot well from the free throw line, 81.6 on 2.9 attempts per game. And then, so that's Pete Nance. He's my number 4. I'm going to go to my number 1 because I'm guessing it's most of your obvious answer as well. And that for me is Cameron Johnson. A big factor in this was the fact that he played 2 years for the Tar Heels. Remember, he had 2 years of eligibility, so played 17-18 and 18-19. You'll probably recall he was hurt heading into the 17-18 season, so didn't get to play as much as he or any of us would have liked. And to be fair, if that was the only season he had at Carolina, I think he would not be nearly as high as he is on this list. Maybe behind Pete Nance even. Maybe ahead of Pete. But he did play 2. And that second year, baby, was something special. That 18-19 season, both for Cam and for the team, parlayed it into being picked really high in the NBA draft in 2019. And so, man, that 2-year factor was a massive deal. And that's part of what you're trying to get in this day and age. Is that's a bigger and different conversation. But like, think about if Harrison Ingram had stayed for another year. Cade Tyson could stick around for 2 years. It's that kind of thing. And it's year 2 where these guys are really popping around the country. So, also, do you remember how litigious Pittsburgh tried to make his whole transfer to Carolina? It would be so much easier today, and Cam wouldn't have had to go through all that. Coach Williams wouldn't have had to go through all that. So I hated that for Cam. Now, for Cam Johnson, prior to what RJ Davis just did this past season, he had the 3rd most made 3-pointers in a single season in Carolina history. In fact, when he did it, it was the 2nd most, behind only Justin Jackson, who had done it in 16-17, made 96 of them. Let's look at his stats. I'll use his second year. Yeah, 16.9 points a game, 5.8 boards, 2.4 assists, 1.2 steals. I believe when we look at Brady's numbers and Harrison's numbers, that's going to be the highest of all 4 of these guys. And I think his 3-point percentage is the highest as well. It's 45.7% that Cam shot from 3 on 5.8 attempts per game. Do you realize how absurdly ridiculous that is for Cam? I mean, just absolutely insane. So I'm betting that when we look at Brady and Harrison, Cam will have been the highest scorer of the 4 and had the best 3-point percentage. All right, my 2 and 3. This is the one that these 2 were really close, Brady and Harrison. I ended up going with Brady as number 2. So Cam, Brady, Harrison, Pete was my ranking. I could easily hear your arguments for Harrison at number 2. I went with Brady at number 2, even though they were neck and neck. I went impact and postseason success. What I mean by that is Carolina was just for a lot of that season. And then when Brady came in, it really kickstarted things. He caught fire, and then they were off and running. Not to mention, obviously, Carolina made a nice-ish run this year to the Sweet 16, fell to Alabama. But the Brady Manek team, baby, all the way to the national championship game. Man, I wish they had won that thing. But obviously knocking off Duke. And so all of that, the team success, individual success, has Brady at number 2 for me. But something I love about both he and Harrison Ingram is what great teammates they were. Would fight for anyone, would stand up for anyone, would hold teammates accountable. Love both of those dudes. Let's pull up Brady's numbers. 15.1 points a game. Yeah, so just behind Cam. 6.1 boards. That's just ahead of Cam. 1.8 assists. 40.3% from 3 on 6.2 attempts per game. That is insane itself. So yeah, I was right. So Cam was just ahead of Brady on points and 3-point percentage, but man, both of them above 40%. And keep in mind, again, similar to what I said about Cam, prior to what RJ Davis just did, Brady Manek made the 2nd most threes in a single season in Carolina history, 98. And that was without starting all year. I got to imagine if he had started ahead of Dawson Garcia all season, he'd be in that triple-digit club with RJ and with Justin Jackson as well. Brady, not as good at the free throw line as Cam Johnson or Pete Nance, frankly, although Harrison Ingram is going to be worse when we look at his numbers. So number 3, Harrison Ingram. Man, what a guy, what a teammate, what a unique skill set he brought to Carolina. And that's where I could have argued for him being number 2, is just really kind of reinventing who Carolina uses at the 4. I think that's going to be a trend going forward for the Tar Heels. Really upping his rebounding game, upping his 3-point shooting from what he did at Stanford. And I just, man, I love Harrison Ingram so much, right? Like, gosh, let's look at his numbers. 12.2 points a game. So yes, the third highest of this group of 4, 8.8 rebounds a game. That's the most rebounds, the highest rebounding average of all 4 of them. 2.2 assists per game. That's just shy of Cam's. Cam's an underrated passer, right? 1.4 steals per game. That is the highest of this group. 38.5% from 3 on 4.6 attempts per game. So that's the third highest. And then he's the worst free throw shooter of the bunch. So now that I've got the statistical backing to back up where my head has been processing, I love doing this organically, but I also love that the stats back up the ranking and order that I had. So Cam Johnson 1, Brady Manek 2, Harrison Ingram 3, Pete Nance 4. I'd love to know your ranking. Do you agree? Did you rank it the same way? Hop into our Discord and let me know. Let's talk about it in there, or find us in the YouTube comments. Would love to chat about it there. Now, obviously, every offseason, we have a whole flurry of human-generated way too early top 25 rankings, but we finally have our first of the 3 major computer-generated rankings projections of the offseason. Where did the Heels land? We'll get to that in just a second. Right after I tell you about Game Time. Going to MLB games in the summer is just one of my all-time favorite things to do. The food, the experience, the atmosphere, man, just the game itself. I love it so much. I want to make all new memories just like that this summer as well. But thankfully, with Game Time, you don't have to sweat high-priced tickets if you get them last minute, because Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, making getting these tickets faster and easier. And here's what's awesome. Ticket prices typically go down the closer to first pitch you get. So with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Home Run Derby next Monday. I love it. Honestly, I'd rather go to this than the All-Star game itself. Found tickets cheapest I could find, $145 in section 231. Best deal though for me, best like bang for the buck, $303 each. But it's like just a little bit back from home plate, a little bit off to the left, so you get a good vantage point. Section 113, row 8. Check it out if you're wanting to go to the Home Run Derby. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. In college basketball, you may or may not be aware that not only do we have all the human voting for ranking systems like the AP Top 25 and everyone putting out their very own, like at Locked On, we put out a weekly Top 25 that just we vote on. Myself, my co-host Andy Patton, and a guy named Leaf Tulane who joins us every Wednesday on Locked On College Basketball. But in college basketball, we have 3 main computer-generated rankings projections that we utilize as well. Probably the most famous one that a lot of people know is Ken Pomeroy, but the other 2 are gaining in popularity as well. Evan Mia is probably the newest of the 3, but is really coming up, and his algorithm is getting better and better all the time. I'm liking it a lot. But then the other one that we're talking about today is BartTorvik.com. A lot of people really, really like Torvik, and his kind of updated projections for this upcoming season came out over the weekend, went live. And so I thought it would be good and helpful and important to look at this, because it's one thing to see like, all right, where do the humans think Carolina is? But if I'm being honest, and if you're being honest with yourself, I think we've all got a lot of trauma from 2 seasons ago where the humans voted the Tar Heels number 1 preseason. And That went literally historically bad. So I don't know about you, but I got some trauma from that rolling around. So I'm great seeing where the humans have us, but I want to see where the computers have us at too, because sometimes the computers aren't all that friendly to the Tar Heels. So I took a look at Torvik when it came out, and let me give you the top 10. Let's go 1 to 10, shall we? Number 1, Houston. Number 2, Duke. I said Duke. All right. Number 3, Iowa State. Number 4, Kansas, who has been a lot of the humans. Number 1, 5, Tennessee. 6, North Carolina. 7, Auburn. 8, Alabama. 9, Gonzaga. And 10, Arizona. Obviously, we could keep going because this is not just the top 25. The computers do the whole 360 plus teams that are in all of Division 1. So, gang, this is encouraging to me. I don't know about you, but my big takeaway from seeing that is it feels like you and I have all been like, yeah, Carolina's backcourt is elite. If it's not the best in the country, it like any sane college basketball commentator, evaluator, whatever, is going to have them top 3 at worst. But we all were kind of like, yeah, I don't know about the front court. I don't know how Carolina's going to play. How's Coach Davis going to bring this all together? Right. And so because of that, we're all having trouble ranking the Tar Heels. And I think we feel like not great about them. But here's what I've been noticing. It feels like everyone else out here doing rankings feels more positive about the Tar Heels than you and I do. Is that fair to say? I think so. I mean, for a while, Gary Parrish at CBS had Carolina like number 2, right behind Kansas. Things like that, and still top 10. And now, not only do a bunch of humans have Carolina ranked really well, this computer, Torvik's projections computer algorithm, has Carolina number 6 in the nation. And so I want to trust it, but it feels like these other people keep seeing something you and I don't see. And I don't know what it is. Why is that? Is it self-preservation that we don't want to let ourselves think that this is going to work out well? Is it other people's lack of understanding of our roster makeup? For example, remember when Field of 68 was just talking about Carolina's starting 5 as though Harrison Ingram was going to be part of it? It's like, no, he's staying in the draft. He's not coming back. I don't know what you guys are talking about. And Field of 68 typically does a really strong job. It's just that's an example. Are we triggered from 2 seasons ago, what I just talked about, where we were ranked number 1? I don't know what it is, but dadgummit, it keeps pulling me back in, because now between all the human rankings and now this computer ranking us, having us as high as it does, I'm starting to get cautiously optimistic here, folks. And you know me, I'm a glass half full kind of guy all the time anyway, right? Right. That's just who I am. But I've been trying to be like, Isaac, don't get happy. Don't get excited. You don't know how this is going to play out. But here Torvik has a 6th ahead of Alabama, ahead of Arizona and Gonzaga and UConn. UConn is 12th in this thing. Baylor is 14th. So, man, I don't know. But I'm starting to get a little bit of hope, and hope is a dangerous thing, right? So you're either going to have to talk me off my ledge of happiness or come join me on it. And then you can also look at this thing by conference. And here's part of the issue. ACC placement, you heard me say Duke 2, Carolina 6. After that, there's not another ACC team till Miami at 29, then Wake at 32, Clemson 46. There's only 5 teams in the top 50. After that, it's Pitt at 52, NC State at 55, Louisville 62, Virginia 63, Notre Dame 68, and on and on and on and down from there. Boston College the worst at 147th. Cal at 107, but everyone else is in the top 100. I guess you can take that. But when I see these ACC metrics, I'm like, man, something has to change. The conference, these teams are going to have to start winning games to to change these computer metrics and models so we don't keep getting jobbed by the net and Ken Palm and Torvik here and all these things. It's like, what does the ACC got to do to earn some respect? And it's like, you're just gonna have to win games, man. And until that happens, I don't know. It's frustrating to see that. And so I want to stay in the ACC. I would love to do that. But if it's gonna keep looking like this, Carolina, for its own rankings sake, might have to make that move. And I know you're not going to make a conference move for the whole university based on the ACC basketball rankings, but it's not nothing. All right. And then you can also see this breakdown by player, because that's how Torvik does it. It's not really a team as a whole. He looks at the individual players. Computer looks at individual players. Number one projected player in the ACC, some dude named RJ Davis. Next highest ranked Tar Heel, Cade Tyson at number 12 in the conference. So that's very interesting and very encouraging for what I feel and think about Cade Tyson, that this computer seeing it too. Now, to be fair, the computer, in terms of those rankings and projections, doesn't have any freshmen built in. So if you look at Carolina's projection as a team, you'll see Ian Jackson and Drake Powell's names, but they're not in that ACC projection rankings list. So just keep that in mind. So Carolina number 6 in this poll, or not poll, but rankings algorithm projection. I like it, but again, I'm nervous, and I need you guys to keep the faith with me here. Now, some of the Tar Heels that are out the door have been participating in NBA Summer League action. There's more of that on Monday night, including the debut for Cormac Ryan, but it was not a stellar Monday evening overall for the Tar Heels. Plus, ACC Network Tar Heel takeover coming up on Friday, and I've got the answer for our Tuesday trivia question for you coming up in just a second. All right, got several things still to talk about, so I want to fly through this a little bit because I don't want to keep you long. We try to keep these things 30 minutes or less. So, Summer League, NBA, the Salt Lake City Summer League kicked off on Monday night. There's 4 teams participating there. You've got Memphis, Philadelphia, Oklahoma City, and Utah. On Monday night, the Thunder played the 76ers. That's Cormac Ryan playing for the Thunder. They lost 102-92 to the 76ers. Cormac got some good runs, 17 minutes, 44 seconds. But my guy it was a rough shooting night for Cormac. Finished with 6 points on 2 of 11 shooting, 2 of 10 from 3, 4 boards and assists, and 2 turnovers. I saw one of the 2 turnovers. It was kind of just a sloppy pass from Cormac. But I just felt bad for him. He had good looks. They just weren't falling, man. There was one, he had a good look at 3, missed, got his own rebound, followed it up with a little mid-range floater, and it didn't fall either. And so I hate it, but he kept plugging. You love to see it. But here's the thing. At least Cormac played. Armando Bacot, who's playing for the Jazz, didn't get off the bench. Tony Bradley, who's playing for the 76ers, didn't play either. It's tough for Armando. The Jazz have several bigs in front of him, including Walker Kessler, including Kyle Filipowski, and a couple other guys. It was kind of ironic. I noted on Twitter, remember back in the 2020-21 season, Carolina had that loaded front court with Armando, Garrison Brooks, Walker Kessler, and Day'Ron Sharpe. On that team, you had Armando Bacot and Garrison Brooks starting over Kessler and Sharpe. And then now Walker Kessler and Armando are teammates again, but this time it's reversed, and Walker Kessler's the one starting and Armando's the one sitting on the bench. So just kind of funny how basketball does stuff like that. Back in action tonight, Tuesday, Salt Lake City. We've got the Grizzlies playing the 76ers, 7 p.m. on ESPN. We'll have Tony Bradley in that one. We'll see if he gets in the game. And then the nightcap, Oklahoma City. That's Cormac against Utah. That's Armando, 9 p.m. This one's on ESPN2. So hopefully Cormac will have a better shooting night. Hopefully Mondo can get in the game. We'll see. And then also the California Classic kicks back up. It was off on Monday. You got Spurs versus this China team at 8. These games are on NBA TV, so that'll be Harrison Ingram. And then that nightcap is Leaky Black and the Hornets against the Kings at 10 o'clock Eastern on NBA TV. Coming up on Friday, the ACC Network is doing a takeover, like 15 straight days of each team in the conference, minus the 3 newcomers, getting a takeover day where literally midnight to 11:59, it's all that school. So Carolina's is pretty cool, is on the weekend this coming Friday, July 12th. So I wanted to go ahead and make sure you are aware of this now. Let me just quickly run you through the schedule. It's cool because they've really broken it up. Unless I missed it, there's no repeats of any sport. They got a whole bunch of different sports. So right at midnight Eastern is a softball game against Louisville from back on April 20th. Then you got men's soccer, women's lacrosse. Both of those are wins over Duke. At 6 a.m., women's basketball's victory over NC State. Yeah, take that, Wolf Puppies. 8 a.m., gymnastics against Pittsburgh. 9:30 a.m., men's lacrosse against Duke. If I remember correctly, that was senior night, and Duke had a really good season, and Carolina really kind of hadn't been as good, and beat Duke in that game would be a fun one to watch. 11:30 a.m. women's soccer against Arkansas. 1:30, we're getting into kind of the fun stuff, really fun stuff now. Baseball's regional final against LSU, the extra innings game. Man, that was stressful, but what a fun game. And now you can watch it knowing the outcome. How fun. That's at 1:30 p.m. Right after that, at 4:30, is the Field Hockey National Championship. Woo! That, talk about stressful. That thing against Northwestern went to double OT. Make sure you check that one out. 7 p.m. football's season opening win over South Carolina. And then the nightcap at 10 p.m. Eastern is men's basketball against Miami. That's the RJ Davis record-setting game in the Smith Center where the Tar Heels almost kind of choked the game away at the very end. Remember that? So no Carolina basketball versus Duke. You can watch those another time. Just celebrate RJ going off. Lots of fun there. So love how they've just kind of broken it up. Lots of fun, different games. All right, 2 more things. An Olympic update. We're going to have lots of Olympic updates coming up. I love the Olympics, and so it's fun to get to celebrate on our show together some Tar Heels in the Olympics as well. One who sadly and unfortunately won't be there is national champion Parker Wolf. You might remember Parker was racing in the 5K in the Olympic trials. You had to get top 3 he made it to the finals, and then you have to get top 3 in the finals to make the team. He did. He finished 3rd behind 2 really, really like elite level competitors. But something you might or might not be aware of is you have to have the Olympic standard, which is racing. You have to hit a certain time, which for the 5K is 13:05, which is just stupid. I'm doing good to hit 30 minutes in a 5K. Unfortunately for Parker, he PR'd in the trials, but that was 13:10.75. So 5, nearly 6 seconds off, and not enough time to get another race in to get that standard, but you can still get in on world ranking. And the rankings came out just a day or 2 ago. And unfortunately, Parker fell just shy of making what he needed to make the team. So he's out, unfortunately. But man, just the fact that he was in contention for this thing is wild. Congrats to Parker, man. And hopefully he can make it in 2028. Is that in LA? I think that'll be fun. Back on American soil. Would love to see that. All right, let's wrap up the show. Trivia Tuesday answer coming at you. 5 times a Tar Heel has led the ACC in 3-point field goal percentage. Who are they? And for a bonus, name the season. I told you the answers, at least a couple of them, were germane to today's show. So you can probably guess who that is. We'll go chronologically here from the oldest to the most recent. 1990-91 season. Some dude named Hubert Davis led the ACC with 48.9% 3-point shooting. The next one, Dante Calabria in 94-95, 49.6%. Wowzers. Ray Felton, 04-05, 44% from 3. I did not remember that. That is shocking to me. Raymond Felton, way to go, dude. That's incredible. And then the last 2, these are the ones that are germane to today's transfer conversation. Cam Johnson led the ACC in the 18-19 season, 45.7%. And then Brady Manek in 21-22 led the ACC with 40.3%. So Could Cade Tyson be the next on that list? Could RJ Davis be the next on that list? We're going to find out this season, but I think those two dudes are going to absolutely shoot the lights out, and I can't wait to see it. All right, gang, that's it for today's show. Thanks so much for being here with us. Coach Pat Kilby will be with me tomorrow. Second installment of the summer roster preview series. We'll be talking about Mr. Ian Jackson, so get buckled up for that. If you haven't subscribed to the show on video and audio, make sure you do so. Very easy to do. If you haven't joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, man, we would love to have you in there. Come for the Tar Heels, stay for the community. The link is in the show notes, and it's free to join. As always, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow. But until then, peace.